Now that we have covered the 5 important fundamentals of function point, let's move ahead and try to understand something called as the GSC, or the general system characteristics for function point. When we do estimation, any kind of estimation, other than the internal files, the external files, the data processing, the logic, there are something called as the external factors. For example, that if you say that okay, my application performance should be really very good, that means that you need to do a lot of extra things or extra considerations while you do your execution, or while you do your coding, or while you do your designing. So definitely you will definitely that will jack up your estimation. If the user says that yes, he needs a high reusability in the application, that means that you need to design your application in such a way that it's very object oriented, it is probably exposing through services, etc, etc. So basically we can call the GSC as the general system characteristic. So once you have counted your EIs, your EOs, EQs, EIFs, all the 5 things, on the top of the 5 things, what we do is that we apply the general system characteristics. So what I'll do is that I will show you a template where we will talk about the general system characteristic. This is the estimation template which you will find in your DVD, which we have provided. Now you can see over here the 14 general system characteristic which I have showed in the PPT. So basically every of the general system characteristic has been rated, or a value is given. For example, if you take data communication, so if you say that the application is a pure batch processing or a standalone, okay, so if it is a pure batch processing, then you give a 0 value to it. If it is a batch but has a remote data entry or remote printing, then you give a value 1. If it is a batch but has a if it is a batch but has remote data entry and remote printing, then you give it a value 2. The first one is a OR and the second one is a AND. So depending on that, you start assigning him values over here. It's a 2, it's a 4. So basically whatever value you get from your get due to ILFs and EIFs, what you need to do is that you need to start applying general system characteristic. So there are 14 general system characteristics which have been given by function point, which have been given by the function point team, and you need to apply these general system characteristic on the total value of ILF plus EIF plus EI plus EO plus EQ. So what you do is basically, using the general system characteristic, we calculate something called as a WAF. That is, this is a WAF. Now what is a WAF? It is nothing but this is a formula, 0.65 plus 0.01 into sum of all the GSCs. So for example, whatever GSC value you get, you total those GSC values here, you put those GSC values according to the criteria defined by function point team, you add this. So this is a total of, you add the total of all the GSC values what you have got. This total, I'll just make a pointer so that you can understand that. So this is the total of all the 14 values. You multiply this by 0.01 and add to 0.65. Now whatever values you have got, counting you have done of ILF, EIF, you add all those and you get something called as an unadjusted function point. You multiply this unadjusted function point by the WAF, you get something called as an adjusted function point. So this is, so you can say that what we have done is basically we have counted the ILFs, EIFs, EOs, EQs, added them all, and we have come out with something called as unadjusted function point. Then we have multiplied that with WAF. WAF is nothing but you add all the GSC characteristics, multiply it by 0.01 and then add it to 0.65, and that you get something called as adjusted function point. So in short, you can say that GSC characteristic helps us to apply the so-called as the external characteristic which we cannot count. For example, if we say that okay, my application should be very easy for installation, that means that now this is not something which you have counted in a function point analysis, because ILFs, EIs, EOs, EQs don't take into consideration these things. So you can see that for installation for use ease, there is a GSC, and this GSC has a value rated. So depending on whatever is the criteria or the degree of influence, you can give the value. So for example, if you say no special considerations were given by the user, give it 0. No special considerations were stated by the user, but special setup is required for installation, then give 1. So depending on your project nature, you start assigning the GSC values.